kill that guy. You got 30 feet to get to that guy. Can you do it?
I have to.
Let me ask you something. What's the difference between this and this?
So often in your movies, instead of realism, you go for the way we wish life would be, don't you?
Yeah, In May of 1945, Adolf Hitler committed suicide.
5 persons, including actress Sharon Tate, were found dead at the home of Miss Tate and her husband, screen director Roman Polanski.
Tarantino's latest film may be his most ambitious yet, Inglourious Basterds.
Quentin Tarantino's 9th movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
This movie, how long did it take you to write it?
I came up with the idea about 10 years ago, in 1998.
And the idea was?
I don't need you to tell me how fucking good my coffee is, okay?
A bunch of Jewish American soldiers are behind enemy lines, and they're doing an Apache resistance against the Third Reich.
We're going to be doing one thing, and one thing only. Killing Nazis.
So I came up with that idea, and I came up with a lot of the characters that are in the movie today, but I had a whole different storyline involved. It just was too all-encompassing. It was just too big. I had the opposite of writer's block. I couldn't stop writing, basically. And at a certain point, I realized, okay, this isn't even a movie. I mean, this might be a 12-hour miniseries, but it's not a movie. So I put it aside and did other things. And then I decided to go back to it in 2008, and I realized it was the story that was the problem that made me not be able to finish it way back when. So I took the same characters and a couple of the introduction scenes of some of the characters, and then I came up with a whole new storyline, and that I figured I could do as a movie.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
And the new story was the whole idea of a German Audie Murphy soldier.
Mademoiselle, je me présente. Frédéric Zoller.
And who's done this wonderful thing for Germany right at a bad time in the war for them, and so Joseph Goebbels is going to make a movie about him.
I think it's the best movie I ever produced before.
The idea of cinema in this movie is everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
It takes place at a cinema.
Yeah.
Goebbels loved movies, and you love movies.
Yeah.
So tell me where it all comes together.
I actually was really fascinated once I got up the idea of doing the whole Nazi propaganda film as a premiere. Just the whole idea of dealing with German cinema under the Third Reich. That's really never been done before. Even dealing with Joseph Goebbels, not as necessarily the architect of evil as he's always presented, but as his job as a studio head, which was one of his main jobs.
Right.
It's your best Film this year. Danke.
And there's going to be a premiere, and then the actual mission, the Guns of the Navarone section, would be blowing up the premiere.
I've always really liked movies about making movies and stuff.
This movie is a love letter to Hollywood.
Is worth $500. And this man's going to collect. He's Jake Cahill.
How do you come up with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Because you're fucking with a historical timeline.
Yeah.
It's very satisfying and very exciting.
Well, I'd worked on that piece for about 8 years because I wasn't in any hurry of getting it done. And I was in London doing promotion work on Death Proof when I think I wrote the first 2 things. And it was actually written in book form then. I wasn't trying to turn it into a movie.
What was that? Jesus Christ!
And then I kind of discovered who the characters were, and I liked the idea of using this Hollywood knowledge I had that I could pour it into a story. I'd worked on these characters, both the characters of Rick and Cliff and Sharon, for a long time of kind of who they were. Then was creating them and figuring out their careers, and then with Sharon was like learning and studying about who Sharon was. And then after I kind of figured out who these guys were, I had to kind of decide, okay, now what story do I want to tell with them? I realized that I don't think I need a story. I think they're interesting enough characters. Let me just do a day in the life. Just follow the 3 of them over the course of a couple of days. Now I'm going to go to the day of the murder, and then that's our dramatic arc. I can try to shrewdly use history to help give me a dramatic ticking clock to some degree or another. That you never want to tick. You never want that clock to go off.
A lot of the characters in the film are fictional, but the film also features some real characters. And Margot, you play Sharon Tate, who's very much a real person.
I mean, I'm in the movie. I'm Sharon Tate. That's me. It's hard when you're bringing a real person to life, a person who had the storyline that Sharon Tate had. So it was important to us that we had someone compassionate and sensitive to where they would embrace the real Sharon Tate. And in Margot, we got this.
To me, Sharon's purpose in the film is to show the best things of the 60s. She represents the free love and the open door policy that was Hollywood at the time. You know, the parties, the fun, the community. I know I'm playing a real life person and, you know, people still love Sharon. And I really wanted to be able to honor her memory with the best of myself.
Deborah, we couldn't have made the movie without her. She blessed the script. She came to set to watch Margot playing Sharon, which has to hit deep.
Most of the creators are trying to rewrite history, even making it more salacious. Quentin Tarantino was the first to come to the family members and speak to them.
And then how horribly her death kind of was the end of that era, and gates went up and doors closed, and Hollywood changed forever after that.
I didn't start the movie with the idea, oh, and this will be the movie that I kill Hitler. That will be the whole thing, and I'll re-engineer everything so that happens. I'm writing the script, and now all of a sudden the bastards are in the theater, and the whole idea is to blow up the theater and kill Hitler, and I go, hey, this is actually kind of working out. And it's like 3 in the morning or something like that. And I go, what am I gonna do, what am I gonna do? Took a piece of paper, and I wrote, just fucking kill him. Just kill him. All right? And then, okay. I don't know if that's a good idea or a bad idea. Let me just put the piece of paper on my bedside table. I'm gonna go to bed. After I had a night's sleep and I read it, I go, it's a great idea.
I'm the devil, and I'm here to do the devil's business.
In a scene described by one investigator as reminiscent of a weird religious rite, 5 persons, including actress Sharon Tate, were found dead at the home of Miss Tate and her husband, screen director Roman Polanski. Miss Tate, who starred in Valley of the Dolls, was 8 months pregnant. One officer summed up the murders when he said, "In all my years, I have never seen anything like this before."
May 1st, 1945, Adolf Hitler commits suicide as Soviet forces close in on his underground bunker in Berlin.
On April 26, the war was essentially lost. He was clearly contemplating suicide.
Adolf Hitler was aware he wasn't going to escape.
He had promised that he would never be captured alive. This guy's a megalomaniac. He's pretty much insane by the end of World War II.
And one of the reasons why he killed himself is because he wanted to avoid the shame of overthrow or surrender.
I wasn't planning on mucking about with history. I was just writing the way I normally write. And then I just started thinking, well, wait a minute now. My characters don't know they're part of history. My characters don't know that there's things that they can do and things that they can't do. So my feeling about it is, my characters changed the outcome of the war. Now that didn't happen because my characters didn't exist. But if they had have existed, everything that happens is fairly plausible. That makes sense.
I mean, this was horrific. I mean, we'd be shocked today by some of the methods used by this brutal killing. I mean, some of the bodies were found with multiple stabbings. We're talking 20 or so more stabbings. Do you ever recover from something like that? I mean, is it something that you yourself have found difficult to cope with?
It's very difficult to cope with it. The details of the brutality never ever leave you.
After you knew what that had happened at Sharon Tate, the most brutal murder that people were aware of. Not that there's not a lot of other brutality around, but this got attention. What'd you think? Sharon Tate and her unborn baby.
What did I think about it?
Yeah.
It's not my world. I don't live in that world.
Well, so you didn't care?
Care?
Suppose
What the hell does that mean, care?
Well, it means law. That means some
Put me in solitary confinement, break my teeth out, break my ribs, brush me up, kick me down a hole, and then come back and tell me about care. I don't know what care is, man.
Why I felt the need to kind of tell Sharon's story to some degree is, well, everything I've read about her, I mean, she almost sounds too good to be true. She sounds just like a really nifty person. I think it's horrible that she's been defined by her murder. And one of the things I can say about the film that I'm absolutely proud of is because of the movie, I don't think that's necessarily the case anymore. I don't think she's just defined by her victim status as a murderer. Now people are very intrigued by Margot Robbie's performance in it, and I think they looked her up. So she just, you know, she's not just a murder victim. Now watch it knowing who Sharon Tate is as a person, not just a celebrity person who died, not just a famous victim.
So often in your movies, instead of realism, you go for the way we wish life would be, don't you?
Rick?
Oh, hi.
Oh, it's so nice to finally meet you.
Nice to meet you.
How are you?
Neighbor.
Yeah, I know. Gosh, hey, this is my dear friend Abigail. Your boyfriend,
How are you?
Rick Dalton. Wonderful actor. Have you seen him around? Yes. Well, come on inside. You want a drink?
Oh, yeah.
Great.